So, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and I'm along with.
Tyler from On the Spot Sports.
And in today's episode, we are joined by the National Pro Fastpitch's very own Chicago Bandits pitcher, Kelly Barnhill. Kelly, how are you?
Hi guys, I'm good.
That's that's great. I've heard you since you said you were in Taiwan. So, how's Taiwan going?
Taiwan's been really good. I'm very excited. I get out of quarantine this weekend, and by next weekend I'll be playing softball. So I am super excited about the only place in the world that'll be playing softball right now.
Really? It's like better down there than it is in the States.
I can't speak for the quality yet, but it's better in the fact that we will be playing.
That's definitely a plus. So, how have you been like? How's quarantine been? Like, I know you're getting out this week, but like, how has it been in the past like week or so?
Yeah, it's a little bit different than the quarantine or the self-isolation we were doing back in the States. Back in the States, it's more of like, okay, I can go to the grocery store if I need to. I can go get gas. I can do whatever other thing, still being conscientious of social distancing, but you can go out and get things if you need them. Here, I am literally not allowed to leave the house. I have to have people deliver food and drop it off. And I have like a government check-in person who texts me every day and is like, hey, I need an update, and I have to update them. If I don't update them, they call me, and it's all this other stuff. So it's a lot more serious, but that's because Taiwan is one of the safest places in the world right now. Last week or so, they've had like, I don't want to say it was the whole week, but most of the days of the week, they didn't have any new cases reported. So it's good.
So how long exactly have you been in Taiwan or Taiwan?
Taiwan. What is today? Today's the 30th.
So,
I think my flight left the 18th, the 17th, 18th.
so good,
That's
like 12 days or something like that.
Yeah, 12 days because I'll be in quarantine. And I get out midnight on Sunday or midnight on Saturday. I don't know. I'm free the 3rd.
Hey, that's something to look forward to.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So, what have you been doing for like training wise since you're in quarantine?
I have a little roof patio area, and I have like a mat, and I have a net. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word net, but I have like a hitting net. So I throw into a bucket of balls, and I just throw into the net from a close distance so I don't miss the net and break something. So I just do a bunch of drills from probably like not even 10 feet away from the net. T drills, K drills, knee drills. Just a bunch of variations of drills. I don't really do a lot of full pitching because there's just not a lot of room, but I do like that kind of stuff and do work on spin work as well. So.
Yeah. So you were saying that there's a lot of stairs there. How are the stairs?
Honestly, I think I counted. It's over like 50 something stairs to get up. That's just to get up to the roof area. There's more stairs below that I did not count. But that from the main level to my roof is 50 something stairs. And for cardio, because there's nowhere else to run, I run up and down the stairs and up and down and up and down. And it gets you. It really gets you because it's cardio and stairs at the same time.
Yeah, that just does not seem like fun. Like as a runner, like I've ran stairs before, and it's definitely not fun.
Well, as a person who isn't a runner, it's not fun either.
Yeah, I would imagine that. So, what made you get into like playing softball, and like when did you start? Like when you're younger?
I started playing softball probably when I was about 5 or 6 years old. Started off with like t-ball and everything, and then you go to coach pitch and all that kind of stuff. I think just like I don't know. I've just always really loved softball. At one point in time, I was like, you know what? I want to try soccer because, that's what literally all of my friends did. All my friends played soccer. So I convinced my mom to let me play one season of soccer. I hated it. Did not enjoy it at all. Running is not my thing. We talked about that a second ago. But my mom made me do it for 2 seasons to make sure I really didn't like it. I think there's a highlight video of me somewhere of getting hit in the face with a soccer ball. I think it's about the only thing I have about me playing soccer. Yeah, so then after that, I went back to softball, and I just fell in love with the game. I think when we started 8U, that's when I started pitching. As soon as you could start, I think you got so many pitches, and if you didn't do it, then the coach came in and pitched. But yeah, I think what I really love about like the game is that even though it's a team sport, as an individual, you can have such an impact on the game. As an individual in one singular moment, you can change the game and make a difference, even though it's a team sport. So all these individuals come together for one common goal, and you have each other's back, and it's just you guys against the world. And I like that a lot about softball.
Can you go in a little more in depth into that? You said it's you guys against the world. Like, is that a mentality of your sort, or do you mind explaining that a little bit more?
Yeah. So I think when you're like, especially like in college and when you are literally training with people, even on the NPF, when you're training with these people all the time, they're not just your people on the field, they're your people all the time. You go out to a restaurant and someone's hitting on your friend or something and they're not feeling it all. Like your teammates coming in and like, hey, let's get you away from here. Let's get you out of this situation. Or your car breaks down. You'll call one of your teammates and someone will come and help you. It's just like the mentality of everything we go through in training, and especially in college at like the 6 a.m. trainings and the conditioning, you're literally like dying together. So there's bonding done through that. And when that happens, you're like, these are my people. I'll do whatever I can for them. And they'll always have my back and I'll always have their back.
How important is that bonding to you with your teammates and all that?
I think bonding is really important for a team, because you could, the like Olympic dream team for basketball, you could have all of the best athletes and put them together, but that doesn't mean they're going to be playing well, and that doesn't mean they're going to actually have like the best team. I think to have the best team out there, you really have to bond with your teammates. You have to know them. You have to understand them. How do they see the game? If they make an error, if they strike out, how do they want to be approached? Do you approach them? Do you not approach them? Like, how do you pick them up? How do you encourage them? Because like I said, it's an individual game, but it's also a team game. Like, as an individual, we play the game in our head a lot more, and sometimes we need our teammates to come and get us out of our head.
Yeah, I think that's very important to get to know your teammates, and they could definitely get you out of a situation if you come into a situation where you don't want to be in. I really like that analogy with like if someone's like hitting on your friend, you want to get them out. So I really like that analogy.
Yeah.
So was there like this one time where or like a one moment that like you were like, yeah, I really want to be a pitcher, like in a game, like this is my main go-to position?
I think there was one moment I can think of, actually. I was playing, it was like kind of for a rec ball team, the Terrell Mill Titans. And I remember that it was a really close game. And the coach asked me if I still wanted to pitch. She's like, we can put someone else in. And I was like, why? I was like, I want to be the one out here in the close game situation. Like, give me the ball. Why are you trying to take the ball away from me? I was like, no, this is my spot. She can go play outfield.
Yeah, so do you really enjoy like being in those like close range situations where it's like ride or die type of situations?
It's a love-hate relationship. You love those moments because that's what you really, when you really truly see what you're made of. And there's nothing more, like thrilling and exciting than, getting that girl out, making that play in that moment when the game's on the line. It could also be very stressful though, so it's a fine balance, but I think a lot of the time it's just, enjoying the battle. We play against so many good hitters that it's just like, hey, sometimes I win some, sometimes you win some, but I want to be the one to win some today.
Yeah, exactly. Do you get nervous in those situations at all, or is it just like free?
I feel like everyone gets nervous in those kind of situations, but I feel like it's a different kind of nervous. It's not like, oh my gosh, like the game's on the line, whatever. I try not to think about that kind of stuff when I'm pitching. My kind of philosophy when I'm pitching is that you really want to stay in the present. So that means that I'm not focusing on, oh, the game's on the line. I'm like, no, this is just another pitch. I'm going to throw my best pitch right here. And then if that doesn't work, I'm going to do it the next. I'm going to throw my best pitch to the next pitch and the next pitch. So it's really just focusing on staying in the moment. It's not going into the future. Well, what if I throw a pitch and we lose the game? What if she hits a double? What if I walk her? What if I hit her? And it's also not living in the past. It's not saying, well, I gave up a home run last time, or I walked her last time, or the last pitch I threw got hit over the fence. It's staying really present and not living in the past or dreading about the future. So.
Yeah, I that was a great question, Jack. You kind of took that from me there a little bit. No biggie. I was also wondering though earlier, you said you got into softball about 5 or 6 years old. Was there anyone in particular that influenced you to play, or did you have a role model at all when you started playing?
I think the person who really influenced my game the most would be my dad, because he was literally the one who would go out with me, rain or shine, and make the time to sit on a bucket and let me abuse him. I think he was probably the most influential person in my career. My mom in a different way, but mostly like on the pure softball side of it, my dad. He would say, don't you want to be the best? So anytime I didn't want to practice when I was younger, anytime I was like, I want to go hang with my friends. Well, don't you want to be the best? So I go and went and I'd go grab my glove and we go practice. But I think just having him being willing to put in the time with me and push me to be my best was probably one of the reasons that I stayed with softball, because I always had his support and I always knew he was going to be there for me and always push me.
Yeah, that's awesome to have. Would you say that family is one of the like most important, like obviously family is very important, but like is it like, did they like influence you like a ton throughout your like career and like support you like through everything, that situation?
Oh, yes. My mom and dad are absolutely amazing. They, my senior year, they literally went to every single series except for I think maybe one. So they would drive the 5.5 hours to Gainesville for home games. They drove to Texas A&M. They drove to Mississippi. They've driven to Tennessee. They've driven everywhere in the SEC, every single school. They flew out to California and watched me play. They were so supportive, and as much as like I personally don't get that homesick, but I know if that's because I got to see my parents every single weekend when I played. I could always count on them to be in the stands. and have my back, and then be able to give them a hug, go out to dinner after games. So it was really nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very, very supportive, and there's nothing you can't go wrong with that. You said it as you just said it. So throughout your career so far, you've had some really cool experiences, and you've been very successful, and have visited some really cool places to play softball so far. Where has softball taken you throughout your career thus far?
Well, I've definitely been all over the United States, whether it was playing or driving to play somewhere. One year, me and my dad, well, twice actually, me and my dad drove from Georgia to Colorado for a tournament. And then after Colorado, we drove up into Yellowstone National Park, and then we drove across Montana, across the Badlands, all the way to Chicago. And then from Chicago, we drove back down to Georgia. So we were always traveling and going places. And of course, we'd stop along the way. On the way up to Colorado, we went river rafting. Like I said, we went to Yellowstone. We'd see the Badlands. We stopped at the Spam Museum. That was an interesting one. The Corn Palace in South Dakota. So those are some of my favorite memories of softball, is like traveling with, not necessarily long travel with my dad, but all the things I got to see and everything I got to do. And then, of course, traveled so much for college softball, literally all around the South and the SEC, out to Arizona, California, those kind of places. But of course, my favorite kind of travel is international travel. So when I was with the USA national team, I got to go to Japan like 4 or 5 times. And Japan is one of my favorite places in the world. From a young age, I was really into like anime and manga. So like going to Japan and getting to experience the things that I read about and the things I watched, and getting to see the culture was so amazing. And Japan is my favorite place. I'm going to also go to Canada, which, is Canada. Mexico, the Dominican Republic was interesting, different, very different from everywhere else. And like you said, right now I'm going to be playing professionally. Oh, and Australia. I can't believe I forgot about Australia. I went and played in Australia at the beginning of this year and spent about a month traveling around and exploring. And then, like I said, now I'm in Taiwan. I'm going to be playing.
Yeah, those seem like some incredible experiences so far, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to come as well. So what are some of those like experiences like overseas and internationally? Like how is like softball compared to like in international than the States?
It's a little bit different. Everyone has a little bit of different philosophy wherever you go. Japan is definitely probably the most competitive place you can go. And in Japan, they're not necessarily, this is so frustrating. They are so annoying. As hitters, they're not necessarily trying to jack the ball out of the fence, though that does happen sometimes. What they're trying to do is make contact. So literally they'll just throw their bat at it. And it makes the worst little dinkers, like little Texas leaguers, duck farts, whatever you want to call them. They literally just throw their bat out. It could be your best pitch, great rise ball. Little just don't even follow through, just make contact. I can't tell you how crazy it drives me, but they're just so good at doing it. And also just their work ethic and like how they practice and how many reps they do is ridiculous. Like they are very, very good at defense. I don't know if I've ever seen any of the Japanese teams I've played make an error. So it's just a little bit different. Australia was also a little bit different, just more of like in the coaching philosophy and how they made lineups and how the coach called the game. So it's just a little bit different from that perspective as well. And I'm sure it's going to be different here in Taiwan. Taiwan's kind of like a little mini Japan. And all the times that I played the Taiwanese teams, they're also very little contact dinky swingers. So we'll see how that'll work.
Yeah, that's definitely very frustrating as a pitcher, especially when it just plops down. You're like, really? Just has to be like that?
It's like the ball has eyes and it literally just finds right where the person isn't.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I've been in those situations as a pitcher as well, so I know where you're coming from there. So you said you played for the national team. It's like, what was that experience like?
Oh, playing for the national team was probably some of the best moments in my softball career outside of, the big moments in college. It was such an honor to wear USA across my chest and play for my country. I got to compete in 3 separate world championships. Well, I guess two world championships and 1 junior world championship. Qualified. We got to play in Japan and qualified for the Olympics. It was just very cool. Especially going back and forth from college to international softball. There's such a difference. Whether it's in just some of the rules are actually different, and also just kind of the mentality of the players. Because a lot of the players are players that are a little bit older. They've been around the game longer. They have more softball IQ. And also the personalities. The personalities is probably one of my favorite things. In my opinion, you can't, or not can't. No, generally you can't be such a high performing, literally like the best athlete without being a little bit strange, a little weird, a little off. So that was my favorite things, is just being around people who were very authentic, a little bit weird. Everyone kind of goes to the beat of their own drum. And those are my favorite kind of people in life.
Can you go more in depth with that? Like, what are some of your ways of like beating your own drum? Like, do you have any like ways of your own that you go about and like how you play?
I think when I say that, it's more of just like person's presence and how they interact with their teammates and kind of what they do. I think I've not necessarily the most social person. Well, not social. What's the word I'd look for? I say sometimes I don't have good social awareness and say the wrong things at the wrong time. Made that mistake a couple of times after some people struck it out. Not a good moment. But just kind of like how people play, how they goof around, their mentality, that kind of thing. Just a little fun. I mean, you've met Tuli.
Yeah.
Tuli, Chitty, Flip, they've all been on the national team, those kind of personalities. We're not normal. I mean, we're not super out there, but just all these cool, unique, kind of quirky personalities together is really fun.
Yeah, exactly. I think all athletes are pretty strange, to be honest.
Well, we have to be to do what we do, to put our bodies through what we do, to sacrifice what we do, and all that. So I hope none of them take offense to me calling them weird and quirky, but I accept it. I think they're compliments.
Yeah, I'd take that as a compliment too, because I get puck shots at me at the head. So as a goalie, so it's definitely a strange, weird like thing. Yeah. So how did you adjust like between like playing nationally and then going back to like college ball?
It was definitely an adjustment. Thankfully, in college, I would have the falls to kind of get back on track to what I needed to do and where I needed to be. So it'd take that time to train, and especially something that was always particularly hard for me during the summers in college, during the summers when I was playing international, is that we'd be traveling all the time. So trying to eat healthy and work out wasn't necessarily easy. It was actually very hard. So I have to spend a lot of the fall kind of getting back on track with like what I was eating and eating healthier. And of course, having that more consistent workout, working out 5 to 6 days a week versus when I was traveling, sometimes I maybe just get one workout in because we're literally be playing every single day or practicing in the morning and then have a small break for lunch and then practice in the evening. So it was hard to get the workout in.
Yeah, for sure. So you played softball all 4 years at the University of Florida. So and you were very successful at the college level. So take us through like your experiences throughout your time at Florida and like what made you and your team so successful.
Well, first of all, go Gators.
Right. That's right.
So I think that one of the things that makes a college team so successful, we talked about earlier, is bonding. And like I said, you do that through practice and diet conditioning. So I think one of the things that being a good team starts before you even step on the softball field. So literally your whole fall in college is generally how it's in the fall that you figure out how good you're going to be as a team. How do your players work together as teammates? How do they interact? That kind of thing. And so I think that's what you really find out, like what a team is made of. And the falls suck. They're really fun, but they also suck. Getting up at 5 o'clock for a 6 a.m. run where I'm going to want to puke isn't necessarily my definition of a good time, but all of those moments and all of that is necessary because, when the game's on the line, you want to know that you and your teammates have been in tough situations and you can push through. We've got each other's backs. We can do this together sort of mentality. But yeah, college was a lot of fun. I think the first time you get to like go out and put the uniform on and you're a little freshman, you don't know anything. You're like, you think you're the am I allowed to cuss? You think like you're the hot stuff. There we go. You're the hot stuff. And you come out and you play, especially in the SEC, you play your first college game in the SEC and you're like, oh, this is college softball. I just gave up 3 home runs in my first couple of innings. This is fun. So it's just like when you first experience like, wow, like this is the difference in college and travel ball. Like I want to do this every single weekend and I want to win at it every single weekend. Like what am I going to do to get better? What work can I put in? Because at the end of the day, I want it to be me and my teammates playing that last game of the year, not somebody else's teammates.
Yeah, so as a former Florida Gator, you nailed it right on the pin. Go Gators. I got to ask you this question. Who is your guys' biggest rival? Or what did you think was some of the toughest places to play throughout your 4 years?
Okay. I have reasons for not liking just about everyone when I play them. I can go through a few. I would definitely say, though, like in the SEC, Georgia and Alabama were my least favorite places to play at, especially Alabama. Just a lot of very loud, redneck, obnoxious fans that weren't very nice. And Georgia too. I don't like the setup of Georgia's field. It's literally like on top of you. And so just kind of yelled down at you. Just not a fan of it. And also Georgia's field is like they must take like a concrete roller and go over it because it is so hard for their slappers and their speedy runners. And I was playing against them when they had the manual sisters who literally just had to touch the ball and put it in play, and then they're already at first base. You can't throw them out; they're too fast. So those two teams, LSU, we always had a really good rivalry with LSU and had some really great games. Playing Oklahoma in Oklahoma is not fun at the College World. I mean, it's fun, but also you're playing Oklahoma in the College World Series in Oklahoma, so you have about 10,000 Oklahoma fans and about, 100 or so, 100, a couple more Gator fans. So you're a little outnumbered there. So that was always a really good game when we had the chance to play Oklahoma. UCLA was always a really fun competitive game. We really we didn't play a whole lot of Pac teams when I was playing. So I think most of the rivalries that we had were with teams in the SEC, because those are the teams we're playing every single year in and year out. Of course, for me, literally every single super regional I played was against an SEC team. So you're seeing these teams in preseason, you see them in SEC season, then you see them postseason.
Yeah. So when it gets really loud, like in the different like stadiums, like how do you like black out like all the sound and just like focus on like the game?
Yeah, when I'm pitching, I don't hear too much of it. It's most of the time when I would hear something from the audience, it was either when I was in the dugout or when I was like transitioning. When I'm pitching, I'm really just focusing on me and my catcher and the batter. So sometimes my mom will like, "Oh, did you hear me cheer?" I was like, "No, not at all. I didn't hear anything." It's just really trying to like zone in and kind of tune out everything else that's happening outside of the mound and the plate.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite walkout sound or
Oh,
walkout
easily. I had the
song?
same walkout song for 4 years. Wild Thing by the Trogs. It's my one in Chicago too.
Yeah. I remember that one. It's really good. Yeah. So going to your sophomore year, and you guys were ranked number one in the nation, and you especially put up a ton of records for Florida, like ERA, strikeouts per 7 innings, lowest opponent batting average, strikeouts looking. You were named the SEC Pitcher of the Year. You won an ESPY for best collegiate female athlete. So what was all of that like, winning that for your sophomore year?
2017 was a very good year. I sometimes I look back and I was like, can I just like bottle some of 2017 up and like keep it with me, No, it was a really amazing year. It was just something clicked that year. I think everyone struggles, I think, a little bit their freshman year, and then when you come back your sophomore year, you understand what it takes to play at this level. And so with that, you come back with a better understanding, a better mentality, and I was really just able to apply that all my sophomore year and was able to have great success. It was a really fun time. I just remember at one point in time, you kind of felt like almost untouchable. You're like, oh my gosh, like I got this. Like I'm like, no one's getting me. This is my time. Me and my team was kind of the mentality at the time.
Yeah, so you won an ESPY that year as well. Like, what was that experience like? And I believe you're the first Florida Gator softball player to win that award as well. So, like, what was that all like?
Oh, it was so cool. So me, my mom, and my dad went out to California, LA. Me and my mom, we got a professional makeup artist to do our makeup and hair. I wore my senior year prom dress. And we got to go walk down the red carpet at like the Staples Center with all of these other professional athletes. And I'm just a sophomore in college. I'm just like looking around. I'm like, there's Michael Phelps. Low key like stalked Michael Phelps on the red carpet to get a picture with him.
Sometimes you gotta do that.
Yeah, and then I got to meet Simone Biles and Gabby Douglas. My mom got a picture with Aaron Hernandez. It was just so cool to see all these high-level top athletes there, all in one place, and just being able to be considered to be lucky enough to be among all of them and have my performance be considered for, the best female collegiate athlete. So it was a very, very cool experience. I haven't quite seen anything like that in my life.
Yeah, were you ever were you starstruck when you saw like all these professional athletes and like that, like they're like right there?
I don't know if starstruck, but I was definitely fangirling a little bit. And just kind of like not overwhelmed by like I said, other than Michael Phelps. I did want a picture really bad with Michael Phelps. Not just like just the atmosphere in general, just like all of these athletes and they all know each other. It was just really, really cool to see that. Actually, AJ Andrews was actually there as well, so I got to see her and talk to her a little bit when I was there. But just the overall experience and the glamour of it, because as female athletes and especially softball in general, it's not like we have that high platform where our platform's getting bigger and bigger, it is, but we don't have that same notoriety, that same star factor that I don't know, like an NBA player would have or an MLB player. But to be on the same carpet and to be considered at that same level it was really cool.
Yeah, so going along with that, like, what are you guys doing to expand that platform? I know Athletes Unlimited came into play this year. It's like, what's that all like?
Yeah, so Athletes Unlimited, I'm really excited about Athletes Unlimited. It's a really cool and innovative chance to change the game a little bit, and provide more opportunities for female athletes. Like I said, the first sport they launched was softball, and they just announced today your time, or yesterday your time. I don't know. The time zones get a little tricky, but they just announced that they're doing volleyball, which is going to be the first professional volleyball league in the United States. But going back to softball, so it's just a very cool and different format that tries to make the game quicker, more accessible for people to watch, and get them more involved. So for those of you who don't know what's going on with Athletes Unlimited is that we're going to have 56 athletes, literally the best athletes in the game who have played outside of college. So it's very, very exciting because you have these 56 athletes. These are people that you've constantly competed against. Some have been your teammates, but you've competed against a lot of them. And you get together and there's no set team. So each week there's going to be a draft done by the players. So the players get to choose their teams. The top 4 players get to draft their team. And with that means there's new possibilities for different team combinations every week. So some weeks you'll be playing with a player, and then next week you might have to pitch against them. So it's very exciting because it's just going to be such a high level of competition in such a great environment for playing the game, because you have some of the best names out there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's awesome how like Athletes Unlimited came into play, and like female athletes, female sports are like growing, because you guys deserve to be on like that platform, like how like NBA players are. Like I believe that, and Tyler believes that too, that you guys deserve to be like at that level. Yeah, so going back to your college experience, you were a national runner-up to Oklahoma in 2017. So what was it like playing on like a national stage like that?
I think it's very exciting. It's very when you look at it like big picture, like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. We got to do that. Like I said, in the moment, I try not to think about the 10,000 Oklahoma fans, cheering against you. But it's just very cool to have that platform because honestly, the College World Series is probably the biggest stage other than the Olympics that you can play at that's most like watched and everything. And the NPF, we don't get we don't get the fans, and we don't get the TV numbers if we're even on TV that we do in college softball. I think there was like 1 point something million people that tuned in for the 17 inning game that we played against Oklahoma in the national championship games. So I think it's just playing at the highest level, having everybody tune in and watch, the utter exhaustion of playing 17 innings for 5.5 hours. But, even losing, the thrill of that game and how close. That's like the epitome of softball, saying one team pushes and the other team pushes back and you're just going at it, and just loving what you're doing out there.
Yeah, so would you say that was like your favorite moment of college that you've experienced in playing softball as well?
No, we lost. That's not my favorite. Not at all. I mean, it's definitely up there. It's just, it was a very cool experience, a very cool moment to be a part of. But my favorite moment's definitely of all of us winning. I would have to say more of like the first time we won an SEC championship. Whether we won or lost depended on two teams that were playing, and it was late, I think, on like a Sunday or Monday that we had off, or we had already played. And it was like 9 o'clock at night or something, maybe 10 o'clock, and someone was still playing. And literally we all got a text on our phone that was like, hey, come to the field. We're going to watch the end of this game together. Because whether if this one team won or lost would mean if we had won or not. So we're all sitting there and waiting and watching together, and they'd be like, oh, no, wait, fouled it off. Okay. What? Sort of thing. And then finally, when the team that needed to lose actually lost, we all went crazy, and we went out and we dogpiled on the field because, it's a little bit different from when you actually like win it outright or than when you're waiting for someone else to, lose or play and see what they get. So it was just really cool, especially as a freshman, having that experience. And then when you actually go out and win them outright, it's just so amazing and exciting. I think probably one of my favorite moments was 2017, but it was Super Regionals in 2017 against Alabama, which of course is always a very big game, very big rivals, very stressful, very fun. We were in game 3 of that game. It was a very tight game. I think it was a tight score, like I said, like 1-run difference. And when we ended up winning that game, just like the feelings and the emotions of going to the College to World Series for the first time, because we hadn't gotten a chance to do that my freshman year. So that emotion was probably one of the best moments. I ended up getting a Gatorade bath, which was really gross and sticky, but also, in the moment, having fun, sort of thing.
Yeah, so you mentioned your time playing Oklahoma in that 2017 College World Series. I had to go back to that again because I know you said you didn't like it because you lost, but I actually remember watching that 17-inning game on television
a lot of people do. People that don't even like follow softball are like, oh yeah, I saw that game. And I was like, see, that's how cool it is. Like I said, all those people tuned in.
I was watching and I was like, this is crazy, 17 innings. But you said ultimately lost the game. Disappointed, obviously, as a Gators fan, disappointed for you. So you said 2017 was a great year. You go in there, unfortunately come up a little bit short to Oklahoma. What did you take away overall from that season and coming up short like that? And any stuff you can maybe go forward with the next year?
Yeah, no, I think for a lot of us that have been there in that experience, who played in a national championship game, it just made us hungrier. We wanted it that much more because we had been there. So we're like, okay, we know what it takes to get to that level, but how do we win at that level? How do we play in that national championship, 17 innings, and come out with the win, the victory? So I think that next year just kind of was a driving force to what we were doing in conditioning and, when we were practicing, saying, hey, you really be intentional about what we're doing out there because every rep has an impact down the line.
Yeah, that's something really good to take from that series. And so going into like your senior year, like what did you expect to happen? Like were you focused on like maybe getting drafted like to the NPF, or like what was like the expectations going into that season?
I think the expectations going into that season were a little bit different for me as a pitcher, pitching wise. I didn't have one of our more dominant older pitchers to look up to and to support me. in the circle, because I had Delaney, I had Lily, and both of them had passed and gone on after college. So it was a different role. I had to be that older pitcher, taking on the responsibility of the games, and trying to be a mentor to our younger pitchers. I think I definitely pitched more innings, I think, my senior year than I did in any of my other years. So it was a little bit more draining physically, and also a little bit mentally too. But of course, like I said, I always want to be the one in the circle. Give me the ball, coach. I think though there was one series we played like Old Miss or something. We'd gone into extra innings on the Saturday and the Sunday and the Friday, and I think I ended up pitching over 400 and something pitches that weekend. So it was a very long weekend. But yeah, I think senior year was definitely different mentality wise. I feel like I had grown so much from I feel like you grow every year in college and you learn more things and you start figuring out who you are. But I think my senior year was the biggest like in growth, especially when I look back at my freshman year, like, oh, this is the SEC to, okay, we're pitching 2 games against SEC teams every weekend. How are we going to win this?
Yeah. Did your arm ever get tired when you were throwing 400 pitches?
My arm would definitely get sore and I get knots. So we had a masseuse at Florida that we get to see on Mondays. Her name is Tiffany. Tiffany is the best person in the world. Tiffany is why my arm's still attached. But we'd take care of it. We had to do a lot of, arm care and stuff so that your arm, that's more beforehand, so that your arm is strong, and so that you don't get fatigued as easily and you have the right movements and muscles so you don't get fatigued, as like I said. But definitely had to take care of my body and make sure I did recovery all the time. I think kind of at that point, it's not even just your arm. It's sometimes you just literally have full body fatigue. You're like, I am pushing as hard as I can, but my body is not going. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes you hit that wall. Not necessarily a fun thing, but sometimes you gotta work with what you have and what you show up with that day.
Yeah, exactly. Would you say that recovery is like one of like the most important things that you've learned?
I think you have to take care of your body, especially playing D1 sports. You put so much strain on it, and if you don't take care of it, it is not going to thank you later. If you don't, that's like going back to the conditioning in the fall. The conditioning in the fall, they push you to your limit so that when you're playing a game, your limit's further than you think it is. It's not just here like, hey, I know I have more. I made that last suicide, I made that last gas or whatever it was, so I can push a little bit further here. And all that strength that you built up in the fall, and although you still do weight work and stuff in the spring, it makes your muscles stronger so that you can go longer, you can go harder, and you can get less fatigued while doing it.
Yeah, so as your senior year came to a close, you held school records in ERA with .92, opponent batting average .124, strikeouts 1,208. So like, how much does that mean to you to hold like all these records?
I mean, records are fun, but at the end of the day, records aren't the most important thing. I think, like I said, it kind of goes back to team versus individual thing. Yes, you want individual awards, you want individual records, but no one's going to remember that at the end of the day. They remember when you win championships. They remember when you perform in those big moments. They don't necessarily remember, oh, she was the leader in ERA or opponent batting average. I think the one record that I do like, that's probably one of my favorite record, and the one that meant the most to me, was the strikeout record. Because the person who previously held it was Stacey Nelson. If you guys don't know who Stacey Nelson is, she was a really amazing Florida Gator pitcher, and she's like a mentor to me. So for me, it was really special to be able to surpass her numbers, as she's someone I look up to so much, and is someone I aspire to be like.
Yeah, so take us back to March 20th. March 20th, 2019, when you guys beat Minnesota 2-0, and you hit a milestone marker with strikeout number 1,000. What was that feeling like, and what was like everything like leading up to that pitch where number 1,000 came?
I knew I was somewhere close around the 1,000 range. I didn't know exactly what batter it was. I hadn't really kept track during the game of exactly, if I strike out this girl, then this will be 1,000. It wasn't that kind of thing. It was just kind of like, I'm around there somewhere. So when it happened, it was a really special moment. Especially being in, at the KSP Stadium, and being surrounded by all the Gator fans. It was really special. They put a little 1,000 on the scoreboard. They called time, got the ball, and it was just it was a really cool moment to celebrate with my teammates and all the fans in Gator Nation.
Yeah, it just seems like an unreal experience, and just getting 1K, it's amazing. So at the end of your senior season, you got drafted in the NPF, and you went number 1 overall to the Bandits. So what was it like getting drafted at number 1 and going to an organization in Chicago?
Getting drafted number 1 was so cool. It's what you dream about as a little kid. When I was in 5th grade, we had a career day at school, and I dressed up as a softball player because I want to be a professional softball player. A couple of people in the class were like, that's not a job. You can't do that. Ha. Ha ha ha. I laugh at you. So it was just kind of a dream come true, because that had been my goal since I was literally like in 5th grade, to be a professional softball player, and to go number 1 in the draft and have that experience, and I guess kind of almost be validated and say, hey, you're the number 1 person that we wanted. It's very cool and special. And then, of course, coming to Chicago is absolutely amazing. We have, I'm going to say hands down, the best setup in the NPF. We have such an amazing support staff. We have such a loving city that's willing to host us and was willing to give us the facility that we have. And so it's a really cool place. Honestly, Chicago is like I consider Chicago like my second home. I'm like, Chicago's my city now. I'm like, Atlanta's I kind of claim Atlanta. I live in the suburbs of Atlanta, so I'm not really like in Atlanta, but I'm like, Chicago's my city. Like, this is my place now. Honestly, I'd moved to Chicago, but I'm from the South and we don't do cold like that. That's not gonna happen. I would die if I had to experience the Chicago winter. I'm a baby. It got too cold in Gainesville sometimes for me. Gainesville, Florida. So I couldn't handle Chicago. But I love the architecture of the city. I love the vibe of the city. On off days, I would literally, head downtown with or without people sometimes and just go walk around and explore. So I love Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago's winters are definitely not fun, especially right now. It's still like 30 degrees out. Definitely not.
When you consider right now winter in Chicago, I am concerned. This is spring. That is concerning.
And it
is not uncommon to snow in April here.
Yeah. No.
From like 30 to like 70 in like a few days. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. No. Well, thankfully, it's nice and warm during the summer there.
That is true. So
I don't know. I'm a little worried it's going to get cold, though, for Athletes Unlimited. We're going to be there in, like, September, and I'm like, ooh, that might start getting a little chilly.
Yeah.
It'll be probably warmer than actually, there's nowhere that'll be warmer than Illinois then. So going back to, like, that 5th grade comment where you dressed up as a softball player, and like people were like saying that's not a job. Did that like motivate you to like push yourself to prove them wrong?
I mean, honestly, it didn't play. I mean, it played a role, but honestly, what pushed me was more of myself and my dreams and my goals, saying, "Hey, this is what I want to do, so I'm gonna go do it." I don't really care what you say. You're not relevant to my life and my decisions. So it was more of an internal thing that I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go make this happen for myself. This is my dream, my goal. I'm gonna go after it. Doesn't matter what anyone else says."
I really like that mindset. So on June 8th, 2019, you got your very first professional win in a 9-8 final in 10 innings. And since I interned with the Bandits last summer, I remember watching this game from like the press box, and at the time it was very exciting up in the press box as well as the stadium. So like, what was the feeling like down at the field, especially since it went to 10 innings and you also got your first professional win?
Well, this was actually really interesting. I literally had just like gotten off the plane. I had just gotten to Chicago, just got off the plane, came to the field. I hadn't pitched in like a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe after the World Series because I was taking a break. And then the coach comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, how do you feel about going in?" I'm like, "I haven't pitched in 2 weeks." He's like, "Yeah, come on, you got it." And I was like, "Okay, let me go warm up here and see if I can get the rust off the last 2 weeks." So it was very quick warm up, and then just threw me on out there. But it was a lot of fun. Like I said, you play in college. You are considered to have the best of the best on the fields all the time, but on those teams, there's always better players. In the NPF, you're literally playing the best, players from college. Like that two or three hitters on the team that you didn't want to face in the lineup. Literally, that is every single batter in the NPF. So it was really fun going out and being able to just literally hop off the plane and just dip right into what NPF softball was all about.
Yeah, so you got 5 strikeouts and 4.2 innings pitched that day. So I consider that a success, especially with the win coming along with it. Nothing better.
Yeah.
So what was the experience like in Chicago and playing pro for your first year as a professional?
It's so different from college. In college, literally, it's like, okay, you're going to wake up at this time, you're going to go to classes, and you're going to come to practice, and then you have this and this and this. So literally, they plan out your whole day, and that's what you do. You go from one thing to the other, very structured. You need to do this, you need to do that. You have to go to weights, you have to do arm care, you have to do walk to the trainer, blah blah blah, all that other stuff. And then when you get to the NPF, they're like, okay, you're a professional athlete. Get what you need to get. Like, you're making your own schedule. If you need to get extra reps in, come early and get extra reps in. Or we're not going to make you do anything, So you have to take a lot more ownership in what you're doing, which is very different. It's less, micromanaging.
Yeah, so what would you say was your favorite part about last summer playing in Chicago as a pro?
Oh, 100% the people. I loved my teammates. They were so amazing, so weird. A lot of great personalities in that mix. Probably one of my favorite teams I've played on, personality-wise. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so what was like your biggest like takeaway from last season since you turned college into pro? Like, what was the biggest takeaway from that?
I think one of the biggest takeaways was probably just there's a mentality shift in the game a little bit, especially from college pitching to professional pitching. No longer is your coach, no longer, you're looking down at your arm guard and going and throwing the pitch. You have to really kind of be on the same page with your catcher and have kind of an idea of how you want to throw the game, how you want to pitch to batters. And it's a lot more mentally demanding. So I think it's taking more ownership of your own pitching was one of the biggest things I took away from last season.
Yeah, so you're a big inspiration to the softball community and like and the whole world. So how important is it to you to be a great person in the community, you're personally and like inspiring the next generation?
I do my best to be a good role model to like the younger girls and someone that they could look up to and aspire to be. And when I get a chance, I love having the chance to interact with them and, getting to know them. And it's just, they're the future of the game. So I think it's really an honor and special that they look up to me the way that they do. And I just want to, you know, um, conduct myself in a way that's worthy of them. Um, some of the craziest things got up in Chicago, and some girls we'd be in the autograph line and some girls would be crying. I'm like, no, sweetie, don't cry. I'm a normal person. I promise. Here, come, let me give you a hug. And they start crying harder. And I mean, thank you, but I'm like, I'm sorry, don't cry. Just some of the sweetest people. And if talking to you and meeting you, can positively impact their life in some way, I want to leave a positive impression. Me saying, hey, you got to work hard for your dreams, or you got to push yourself, you got to do whatever. If they're able to take that and apply it to their lives in some way, whether it's softball or not, I'm just happy to be able to make a positive impact.
Yeah, that's awesome. The Bandits do the post game autographs after the game, so that's also another really good feature. Like you get to talk to them and to take pictures, obviously get autographs or give autographs. So just makes the experience even more better.
Of course, that's what we want to do. We want to create an experience in which the girls are excited to come, excited to be involved. Because, like I said, if more people are excited to come to games, then we can grow the game even more and create a better platform and a bigger platform for within these young girls who are coming to our games when they're playing at the professional level, when they're playing at the college level. So yeah, they always made me go last in the autograph line, though. Everyone was always very mad when they were behind me in the autograph line. I would apparently I signed too slow and talked to the girls too much, so they'd always get stuck around me and be stuck waiting.
That, that's funny. So we got a few more questions for you. Um, I know that you love baking food. So like, what made you get into baking? Like, what is your favorite food to make?
I definitely think one of my favorite things to make is either cupcakes or cakes, because with that, then I get to decorate them. And one of my favorite parts of baking is getting to decorate and putting glitter on there, throwing some flowers, making it all pretty and yummy. So I think that's one of my favorite things. One of my favorite things to bake is cakes and cupcakes. Um, Sugar cookies, decorating sugar cookies, they can come out very beautiful, but they just take so much time decorating sugar cookies for like Christmas, or I did something for Easter. So pretty, but so much time. Um, but yeah, I got into baking probably like my sophomore year of college. Um, and it was something that I did to de-stress. I had a class for my journalism. It was a journalism class for my PR major. And it literally went from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Monday night on my off day in season. It was a very, very stressful class. So literally when I come home, I would bake something. And at this point, it was just like, it'd just be like a box, whatever, I'd make lemon bars, or I'd make brownies, or I'd make cake or whatever, and it would just relax me. And so from there, I started to really gain my love of baking, and I would bake things for my teammates' birthdays, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, baking definitely really does de-stress you. I just recently got into that during quarantine. Cookies are by far the best that I've made so far, so not complaining
I'm
there.
not a huge cookie person. Like I said, I definitely would go for cakes and cupcakes over cookies.
Yeah, I'll have to try that definitely during this next month since we're in quarantine still.
Got to go with the homemade buttercream icing, though. Don't get the store-bought icing.
Ooh, thanks for the tip there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I I talked to you a few times last summer, and you have a love for animals, in particular cats. And I remember talking to you about cats last season. So like, what made you get into your love for cats, and like the love of animals?
Well, I've always loved animals in general, whether it's puppies, kitties, kangaroos, whatever, koalas, anything, cute and cuddly. Um, I have 2 cats. I got them when I was in college. So cats are a lot easier to have than dogs in college, especially with our traveling schedule. So it was really nice to be able to have them as companions at home. And then when I travel, my roommates could literally, all they had to do was put food. I'm like, you don't even have to clean the litter box, just put food out, make sure they have food and water every day, and I'll deal with everything else when I get back. So it was very easy and convenient. And it was always nice to have someone to, cuddle with and just kind of play with and have around.
Yeah, so did Florida let you have pets on campus?
I didn't live on campus.
I,
None of us live, the majority of the athletes and most people move off campus after your freshman year. So we all live in apartments and things like that. So.
yeah, because I want to get a cat, but my school doesn't let me. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have one. Yeah, so I have one more question for you. So, what tips would you give girls that want to get to the next level and play college and maybe end up going pro?
I think the best tip I can give you is to believe in yourself. If you want to do it, the first step is believing in yourself. If you doubt, if you say, oh, I don't know if I can do this, then you probably can't. If you don't think you can do it, why should anyone else think you can do it? I think that having that confidence is one of the first steps of getting to where you need to go. Along with that, you have to be willing to make sacrifices. Being the best isn't something that comes naturally. It's something that you really have to work for. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to be the best player and not put in the work and not put in the time. It takes a lot of time to be great. You're going to miss things. You might miss dances. You might miss sleepovers with your friends, parties, all of that kind of stuff. You might have to say, hey, what's the bigger priority? Is it this, or is it becoming the best I can be and reaching my goal of playing college softball or playing professional softball? So I think it's having an understanding of what you want and what's important to you, because the only limits in life are the ones that we put on ourselves. So if you limit yourself by not believing you can do it or not putting the work in to do it, then you're not going to make it. I believe that, we can almost do anything we set our minds to. And if you're willing to put in the work and putting the time, great things happen. And that's just for everything in life. That's not just softball. That's like if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a singer, or whatever it is. I think those things are important to always think about.
Yeah, I got 2 more questions for you here, Kelly. Both
Okay,
of these are going.
quick.
All right. Both of these are going back to college. What made you choose Florida? Because I know you said you grew up in the Atlanta suburbs. I know Georgia Tech is located in Atlanta. So what made you choose Florida?
I chose Florida because my top 2 schools ended up being Stanford and Florida. I didn't look at Georgia. I had like a 300-mile rule we joked about. I was drawing a circle around Georgia and going outside of it. I wanted something new and something different. So when the decision came down to was that I wanted to play the highest level softball that I can. I also wanted to get a great education. Florida is ranked number 7 or tied for 7 for public school education. So I knew I would be able to get a great education and play at the highest level possible. And also the support staff was amazing. And the whole culture, as you know, the whole culture of sports at UF is really great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then my last question was, I asked you about rivalries earlier. One school that kind of stuck out to me, did you guys ever play Florida State at all? Because obviously the Florida State is a big rivalry.
Yeah, we definitely played Florida State. We just don't play them as often, and we don't of course it's always a big game when we play them, especially when we're playing in Florida, but it's not necessarily one of the big rivalries that actually comes to mind when I think about it, because we probably played them 8 times in my career versus something like Alabama where I played 15, 20 times in my career. So it's a little bit different when you think about that. But yeah, Florida State was always a big rivalry and always a fun game, because it's the Florida State rivalry. So you always play into that.
Yeah, so Tyler, do you have anything else to say before we get this done?
No,
other
just
than-
I thought you said me. I was like, oh no, go.
oh no, other than just thank you so much for coming on. It's awesome to have you coming on and share your story, share your experiences. Hopefully you can come on again. This was a fantastic episode in my opinion.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
yeah. So thank you very much again. It was an honor having you on the show, and we'll definitely come up to a game in Rosemont this year. Just don't forget about us.
Okay. Well, you guys stay safe.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you, you too.